The autumn sunset paints my parents' suburban home in amber light as I pull into the driveway. Sunday dinner, a tradition I've maintained despite the subtle tensions that have shadowed our family for years. I smooth my charcoal pencil skirt and straighten my cream blouse before stepping out of my sensible sedan. Through the bay window, I catch a glimpse of movement, laughter. Something feels different tonight. I knock twice before using my key, a habit my mother instilled in me since childhood. Always announce yourself, Michelle. It's the polite thing to do. The scent of roast chicken and rosemary potatoes wraps around me as I step inside. Family photos line the hallway, decades of carefully arranged memories. My high school graduation, Rachel's college ceremony. Family vacations where I always seemed to be half smiling while everyone else beamed. Michelle, is that you? Mom calls from the dining room. It's me, I answer, hanging my coat on the wooden rack by the door. I follow her voice and freeze at the threshold. Rachel stands by the china cabinet wearing a burgundy cocktail dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her hair is freshly highlighted, cascading in perfect waves around her shoulders. Dad pours champagne into crystal flutes, the ones reserved for Christmas and milestone birthdays. Michelle! Mom rushes over, pulling me into a hug that smells of Chanel No. 5 in anticipation. She's wearing her good pearl earrings. You're just in time. Dad finishes pouring the fourth glass and raises his own. Perfect timing indeed. We were just about to toast. Toast? I accept the champagne, noting how Rachel can barely contain her excitement, practically vibrating as she clutches her glass. What's the occasion? Mom and Dad exchange pleased glances. To Rachel's future, Dad announces, lifting his glass higher. We clink glasses. The champagne is expensive, dry with hints of apple. I sip slowly, watching Rachel over the rim of my glass. I found it, Rachel blurts out, unable to contain herself any longer. My dream house in Oakwood Heights. That luxury townhouse development they've been building? The one with the rooftop gardens and the community pool? That's wonderful, I say, forcing enthusiasm into my voice. Oakwood Heights, where the starting price for those townhouses begins at $450,000. We put in the offer yesterday, Rachel continues, and they accepted this morning. Can you believe it? I'm going to be a homeowner. Dad wraps his arm around Rachel's shoulders. And we couldn't be prouder. We're helping with the down payment, Mom adds, patting Rachel's hand. From the Family Trust Fund. The Family Trust Fund. The room tilts slightly as the words register. My fingers tighten around the delicate stem of the champagne flute. The Family Trust Fund. I repeat, my voice hollow. You mean the account I've been contributing to for the past 10 years? A brief flicker of discomfort crosses Dad's face before his expression hardens. It's for family milestones, Michelle. That's always been the purpose. But 10 years ago, I was 22, fresh out of college with my first real job as an administrative assistant at Wilson and Brooks law firm. Mom and Dad had invited me to dinner, just the three of us. Dad spread papers across this very table. It's time you started thinking about your future, Michelle, he'd said. A security fund for your wedding someday, your first home. Add what you can each month, Mom had encouraged. We'll manage it, contribute too. When the time comes, you'll have a solid foundation. For a decade, I'd transferred $500 monthly from my modest salary. I'd skipped vacations, lived in a tiny apartment with temperamental plumbing, bought secondhand furniture, all while watching that account grow to nearly $60,000. My money, my sacrifice. Let me show you the pictures. Rachel pulls out her phone, swiping through images of granite countertops and cathedral ceilings. This is the main living area, and this is the master bedroom with the walk-in closet. I nod mechanically, my throat tight. It's beautiful. Michelle's always been the responsible one, Dad remarks to no one in particular. She'll understand. This is what family does. Mom gives my arm a dismissive pat. You don't even have a serious boyfriend yet, dear. Rachel's at a different stage of life. Rachel, who spent 3 years finding herself after college, while I worked 60-hour weeks. Rachel, whose car was a graduation gift while I took the bus for years to save money. Rachel, whose European vacation last summer was an educational investment according to our parents. Excuse me, I murmur, setting down my barely touched champagne. Bathroom. I lock the door behind me, hands trembling as I pull out my phone and open the banking app. The joint account my parents and I established appears on the screen. I tap it, heart pounding. Previous balance: $59,872.43. Current balance: $0. Last transaction: transfer to external account. Yesterday. My vision blurs. The bathroom spins. A decade of sacrifice emptied in a single transaction, without so much as a conversation. For my sister's dream house. I grip the edge of the sink, knuckles white against the porcelain. Through the door, I hear Rachel's excited chatter about paint colors and furniture delivery. Mom's delighted responses. Dad's proud rumble. In the mirror, I hardly recognize the woman staring back at me, the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who will understand, but I don't understand. And for the first time in my life, I'm not sure I want to. This isn't about money anymore. This is about value, worth, respect. I straighten my shoulders, taking one deep breath, then another. They've made their choice. Now it's time for me to make mine. The bathroom door swings open harder than I intended, the hinges protesting as it bangs against the wall. My parents and Rachel turn in unison, champagne glasses still raised in celebration. That was my money. My voice comes out steadier than I expect, the words hanging in the sudden silence. Mom laughs lightly, the sound brittle against the tension I've created. It's a family fund, dear. We've always made decisions as a family. Family decisions? The word tastes bitter. Did anyone consult me before emptying an account I've put $60,000 into? Rachel rolls her eyes dramatically. Don't be so dramatic, Michelle. It's not like you were using it. Dad sets his champagne down with deliberate precision. Let's all calm down, Michelle. Your sister needs this house. It's about the greater good of the family. The greater good? I repeat, my hands clenching into fists at my sides. Show me the account statements. Now isn't the time, Dad begins. Show me the statements. Each word drops like a stone. For the past 10 years. Dad and Mom exchange glances, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, Dad sighs and pushes back from the table. If that's what it takes to end this nonsense, he mutters, heading toward his office. While he's gone, Mom attempts damage control. Michelle, I know you're disappointed, but Rachel has found her perfect home. Can't you be happy for your sister? Rachel nods eagerly. You can come over anytime. There's a spare bedroom you could stay in when you visit. The casual generosity of offering me access to a room purchased with my own money makes my stomach twist. Dad returns with a leather portfolio, hesitating before placing it on the table. I reach for it before he can change his mind, flipping it open to reveal neatly organized monthly statements. My fingers trace the columns of numbers, each deposit marked with my name. 10 years of sacrifice laid bare. I flip through month after month, searching for any contribution besides my own. There's nothing here from either of you, I say, looking up. Not $1. Dad shifts uncomfortably. We provided the investment strategy. The guidance. Guidance, I repeat, continuing to turn pages. A notation from 3 years ago catches my eye. What's this withdrawal? $20,000 in August 2022? Rachel suddenly becomes intensely interested in her champagne. Rachel needed help with graduate school, Mom says smoothly. Just a small loan. I flip more pages, finding other withdrawals. And this $12,000? And these 8 smaller withdrawals? Dad clears his throat. The down payment for Rachel's car, and some help when she was between jobs. Her European vacation to find herself? I ask, already knowing the answer. Mom reaches for my hand, which I pull away. Michelle, family supports each other. Your sister needed these things. And what about my needs? The question hangs between us. You've always been so capable, Dad says, as if it's a compliment. So independent. So independent because I had to be. I counter. Because every time I needed something, the answer was no. That's not fair, Mom says, her eyes welling with tears. After everything we've done for you. What exactly have you done? The question isn't angry anymore, just genuinely curious. We raised you, Dad says sternly. Put a roof over your head. Food on the table. The bare minimum parents are supposed to do, I reply. Family supports each other, Dad repeats, his jaw tightening. Your sister needs this. Start in life. And I don't? I close the portfolio, suddenly exhausted. I've supported this family by being the responsible one for 32 years. Rachel scoffs. twirling her champagne stem between manicured fingers. It's just money, Michelle. You can save more. It's not my fault you chose a boring career. The casual cruelty of her words cuts through the last threads of my patience. I stand, gathering my purse and the portfolio of statements. Where are you going? In. Mom asks, alarm rising in her voice. I made your favorite dessert, lemon squares. I've lost my appetite. Dad stands too, his authority a familiar weight in the room. Michelle, we expect you to be reasonable about this. The decision has been made. Yes, it has. I agree, turning toward the door. But not by you. This is ridiculous, Rachel says. You're ruining a perfectly good celebration over some money. I pause at the doorway, looking back at the three of them, Dad, stern and immovable, Mom anxiously twisting her napkin, Rachel annoyed at the interruption of her moment. This isn't about money, I tell them quietly. It's about trust. The door closes behind me with a soft click that sounds like the period at the end of a very long sentence. In my car, the portfolio sits heavy on the passenger seat, a decade of broken promises bound in leather. Street lamps flicker on as I drive away from my parents' house, illuminating a path I've never taken before. The responsible daughter has always returned, always forgiven, always understood. Not tonight. Tonight, I'm choosing a different road. That night at my apartment, the bank statements scatter across my coffee table like fallen leaves, numbers and dates that chronicle a decade of my sacrifices. My phone buzzes for the 7th time in an hour. I don't need to look to know it's them, Mom, Dad, or Rachel, each with their own flavor of manipulation. I let it vibrate against the wood until it falls silent. Then I open my laptop and check Rachel's Instagram. There at Island, a photo of her standing in front of the Oakwood Heights sales office, keys dangling from her manicured fingers. The caption reads, "Dreams come true when you have a generous family. Number blessed, number new homeowner, number family first." 27 likes already, 3 comments congratulating her on her hard work. My fingers hover over the keyboard. What would happen if I typed the truth? Congratulations on spending my $60,000. Hope the floors don't creak like my apartment that I've lived in for years while saving for my own home. The phone buzzes again. This time I look. Mom, Michelle, please call us. Your father is very upset. We need to talk about your behavior last night. My behavior. As if walking out of Sunday dinner after discovering they emptied my account was some kind of teenage rebellion. The next message arrives before I can set the phone down. Dad, your silence is disappointing but not surprising. The Robinson family handles matters privately. Consider the reputation you're risking with this childish tantrum. The family reputation. Always the family reputation. The third message is from Rachel. You could at least be happy for me. It's not like you were using that money anyway. I toss the phone onto the couch and press my palms against my eyes until I see stars. The voicemail notification chimes. Michelle, it's Mom. I know you're upset, sweetheart, but you're not seeing the bigger picture. Rachel is starting her life with Jordan. They need this home to build their future. You've always been our rock, our responsible one. Please call me back. Your father, Island. Her voice drops to a whisper. He's talking about removing you from the will if you pursue this. Please be reasonable. I delete the message without listening to the rest. 3 more voicemails follow the same pattern, sweet concern melting into veiled threats. When the knock comes at my door the next evening, I expect to find Mom or Dad standing in the hallway with stern expressions and rehearsed speeches about family duty. Instead, it's Sarah, clutching a bottle of wine and a folder. You sounded terrible on the phone, she says, pushing past me into the apartment. I brought reinforcements. Sarah has been my friend since college and now works as a paralegal at Westbrook & Associates. Her practical nature and legal knowledge have saved me from several bad decisions over the years. I accept the wine but eye the folder warily. What's that? Information. She pulls out a corkscrew from my kitchen drawer, already familiar with my apartment's layout. You said they emptied a joint account that you've been funding for 10 years, right? Without your knowledge or consent? The wine splashes into 2 glasses, deep red against clear crystal, the only fine thing I own. A graduation gift from Aunt Meredith. Yes. Almost $60,000. My voice sounds hollow even to my own ears. But it was a family account. That's what they keep saying. Sarah takes a long sip before answering. That's not just unfair, Beth. It might be illegal. Illegal? The word feels foreign in my mouth when applied to my parents, but their names were on the account too. Joint account doesn't automatically mean communal funds, especially if there's a paper trail showing you were the only one contributing. She slides the folder toward me. You should talk to Thomas Wilson at our firm. He specializes in financial disputes, including family matters. I thumb through the pages. She's brought printouts about financial misappropriation, joint account laws, and fiduciary responsibility. Terms that feel too cold and clinical to apply to Sunday dinners in childhood bedrooms. I can't sue my family, Sarah. You can't let them steal from you either. The word steal lands like a slap. I've been avoiding that term even in my thoughts. 2 days later, I sit across from Thomas Wilson in his office. He reminds me of my grandfather, silver-haired with kind eyes that harden when I show him my bank statements and the account agreement. This isn't a family trust, Miss Robinson, he says, removing his reading glasses. This is your money, plain and simple. They're my parents, I whisper, as if that explains everything. Yes, he agrees, leaning back in his chair, which makes this betrayal of trust even more concerning. I stare at my hands, at the ink stains on my right index finger from grading papers. I need to think about this. After work the next day, I linger in my empty classroom. The third-grade artwork lines the walls, bright colors and hopeful scenes. I straighten Lily's drawing of a butterfly, Xavier's crayon rendering of his family, Emma's careful depiction of the solar system. 5 years teaching at Franklin Elementary. 5 years of watching children grow and learn while my own life remained suspended in amber. Always the responsible one. Always putting others first. I sit at my desk, surrounded by the remnants of today's lesson on simple machines. How many better job offers have I turned down to stay in this district, close to my parents' home? The teaching position in Colorado with the outdoor education program, the curriculum development role in Chicago, and not just career opportunities. The trip to Europe I canceled when Mom needed help after her gallbladder surgery that didn't stop her from attending Rachel's graduation ceremony 2 weeks later. The relationship with Daniel that ended because Dad thought his contractor business wasn't ambitious enough for a Robinson daughter. Year after year of small sacrifices that built an invisible cage around my life. A drawing on my desk catches my eye, Jamie's work from our lesson on integrity last month. A stick figure stands tall while others huddle in the background. Miss Robinson taught me to stand up for myself, the careful lettering reads. My phone rings, startling me. Unknown number. Michelle? It's Aunt Meredith. My father's sister, the family outlier who moved to Arizona after a falling out years ago. Aunt Meredith? How did you? Sarah called me. We've kept in touch over the years. Of course they have. The two strong-willed women always got along. I heard what Robert and Patricia did. She continues, her voice carrying the desert's dry warmth even through the phone. With your savings. It's complicated. I start, the default defense mechanism engaging automatically. No, it's not. She cuts in. They did the same thing to me with Grandma's jewelry. The pieces she specifically left to me in her will. Your father convinced me they needed to stay in the main family line. I let it go because I thought that's what family did. My breath catches. I didn't know. Of course you didn't. They've built a wall of silence around their behavior for decades. Your grandfather did it to your father. Your father learned it, and perfected it. And now they're doing it to you. Her voice softens. Don't let them do this to you, Michelle. This pattern has existed for generations in this family. I look up at Jamie's drawing again, the small figure standing tall. This stops with me, I say, surprising myself with the firmness in my voice. Good girl. I can hear the smile in Aunt Meredith's voice. Now, here's what you're going to do. I listen as she outlines the steps I need to take. Practical, legal, emotional. By the time we hang up, the sun has set outside my classroom window, but for the first time since Sunday dinner, I feel a glimmer of light inside me. This stops with me. The next day, the law office of Thomas Wilson reminds me of my grandfather's study, all dark wood panels and leather-bound books. Afternoon light filters through Venetian blinds, casting golden stripes across the polished conference table where my bank statements lie in neat chronological order. 10 years, Thomas says, adjusting his silver-rimmed glasses. Every month, without fail. I nod, watching his weathered hands move methodically through the documents. Thomas Wilson has been practicing law since before I was born. His reputation for fairness preceded him, the reason I chose him over the younger associates at my own firm. And not a single contribution from your parents? He continues, voice steady but tinged with indignation, despite their verbal assurances. They managed the account, I say, the words hollow even to my own ears. Thomas looks up, blue eyes sharp with 40 years of legal experience. They managed to empty it, Miss Robinson, without your knowledge or consent. My stomach tightens. Hearing it stated so plainly makes the betrayal even more stark. The law is clear here, Thomas says, resting his hands on the scattered papers. This is financial misappropriation. Your options include a civil suit or formal fraud charges. The word fraud lands like a stone in still water. Criminal charges against my own parents. Against Rachel. I don't want to destroy my family, I say, straightening my shoulders. I just want what's right. Thomas nods, understanding tempering his professional detachment. Then we begin with certified letters, one to the bank, formally disputing the transaction. Another to your parents, outlining the legal standing of your claim. He slides 2 envelopes across the table. I sign each letter, my signature more confident than I feel. Fair warning, Thomas says as his assistant takes the envelopes. People rarely respond well when called to account. 4 days later, I discovered just how right he island Aunt Meredith's dining room smells of pot roast and tension. What began as a casual family dinner has revealed itself as an ambush. Uncle Frank sits at the head of the table, his typical jovial demeanor replaced by stern disappointment. You're breaking your mother's heart, he says, pointing his fork at me. She hasn't slept since those legal papers arrived. I take a measured sip of water. I'm sorry to hear that. Cousin William leans forward, his college quarterback confidence undiminished by middle age. Rachel has always had big dreams, Michelle. You're just a teacher. The word just hangs in the air, loaded with generations of familial expectations. I've spent my life helping children achieve their dreams. I reply, folding my napkin neatly, including paying for 3 of my students' college application fees last year out of my own pocket. Aunt Meredith's eyes widen slightly. She didn't know about that. Your sister needs that money for her future, Uncle Frank insists. Her house, her wedding, she has plans. So did I say simply. The table falls silent. For perhaps the first time, they're actually hearing me. My phone buzzes in my purse. I excuse myself to the kitchen, grateful for the momentary escape. It's a notification from Instagram. Rachel has tagged me in a post. The photo shows Rachel and her boyfriend standing before a sold sign, his arm around her waist, her left hand prominently displaying a diamond ring. The caption reads, "She said yes, celebrating our engagement and our new home. Blessed. New chapter." End quote. Comments flood the post. Congratulations pouring in for the golden child. Friends and family alike celebrating Rachel's charmed life. My fingers hover over the screen. I could ignore it, walk away. But something inside me, perhaps the same steel that made me save month after month, while Rachel spent freely, refuses to remain silent. I type a single, measured comment. Congratulations on your engagement. I hope your home brings you as much joy as my decade of savings brought me. I hit send before I can reconsider, then return to the dining room, just as my phone begins buzzing continuously with notifications. 3 days later, the first real victory arrives in my email inbox. A formal letter from the bank. Accounts frozen pending investigation into disputed transactions. My father calls within the hour, his voice thundering through the speaker. What have you done? Exactly what you taught me, I answer, surprising myself with my calm. Protecting what's mine. He launches into a lecture about family loyalty and ungrateful children, his voice rising with each sentence. I let him finish. Is that all? I ask when he finally pauses for breath. He hangs up without another word. The next afternoon, I'm arranging my 3rd grader's science projects when a shadow falls across my classroom door. My mother stands there, perfectly coiffed as always, looking oddly out of place among the colorful alphabet charts and student artwork. We need to talk, she says, closing the door behind her. We're family. Can't we handle this privately? I continue straightening the display, aligning Mason's volcano with Sophia's solar system model. We could have, I say, finally turning to face her. 10 years ago, or last month, or even at dinner, but not anymore. She steps closer, voice dropping to a whisper, though no one else is around. Do you know what this is doing to your father? To Rachel's wedding plans? I think of decade-old promises. Of bus rides in the rain while Rachel drove her graduation gift car. Of my tiny apartment with its temperamental plumbing. Yes, I say, meeting her gaze directly. I know exactly what this is doing. The same thing you've been doing to me for years. For the first time in my life, my mother looks at me, really looks at me, and I wonder if she's finally seeing the woman I've become rather than the compliant daughter she expected me to remain. A week later, the walnut conference table gleams under recessed lighting as I take my seat beside Thomas Wilson. His silver hair catches the light, and the reassuring weight of his legal experience settles around me like armor. Across from us sit my parents and Rachel, a perfect tableau of familial disappointment. Dad's jaw works back and forth. He hasn't looked directly at me since entering the room. Mom's hands twist a tissue into shreds, her pearl bracelet clicking against the table with each nervous movement. Rachel stares at her phone, scrolling through pictures of granite countertops and walk-in closets she now realizes might slip through her fingers. Let's begin, Thomas says, his voice carrying the quiet authority of 40 years in law. He places a leather portfolio on the table and opens it with deliberate care. Dad's hand slams down. This is ridiculous. We're family, not adversaries. Michelle, I raised you better than this. Did you? The words slip out before I can stop them, quiet but razor sharp. Mom dabs at dry eyes. You're tearing this family apart over money. Money, after everything we've done for you. Thomas clears his throat. Mrs. Robinson, with respect, let's focus on the facts. He slides printed bank statements across the polished surface. These records show a decade of monthly deposits from Michelle's account, $500 each month for 10 years. Rachel finally looks up, color draining from her face as she sees the columns of numbers. Plus, Thomas continues, statements showing zero contributions from Robert or Ellen Robinson throughout this period. Dad's face reddens. We manage the account. That's a contribution. Mismanaged would be more accurate, Thomas replies, his tone unchanged. Under state law, this constitutes financial misappropriation, the transfer of funds without proper authorization. We didn't need authorization, Dad interrupts. It's a family fund. That's not what the paperwork indicates, Thomas says, tapping another document. The account was established in Michelle's name with you as co-signatories, not as a discretionary family trust. Mom leans toward Dad, whispering urgently. His expression shifts from defiance to calculation. Rachel pushes back from the table. You promised me that house. I've already told everyone. I've already picked out furniture. Rachel, Mom says, her tone sharp for the first time. No. Rachel's voice rises. This is humiliating. What am I supposed to tell Jason? That we can't afford the house because my sister is being selfish? Selfish? The word hangs in the air between us. I lived in an apartment with broken heating for 3 winters to save that money. Dad and Mom exchange glances. Some silent communication passes between them, the language of a 35-year marriage that's always excluded me. Dad straightens his tie and leans forward. Let's be reasonable. Michelle, we're willing to compromise. We'll split the money 3 ways fair for everyone. Thomas starts to speak, but I touch his arm. This moment belongs to me. No. The single syllable falls like a stone in still water. It was never yours to split. Dad's face hardens. Is this how you repay us for everything? Your mother and I gave you every advantage. Did you? I place my palms flat on the table. You gave Rachel a car for graduation. I took the bus for 2 years. You paid for Rachel's master's degree. I worked full-time while studying. You funded her finding herself trip to Europe. I haven't had a vacation in 6 years. Mom flinches. And when I trusted you, when I believed you were helping secure my future, you emptied my account without a word. Thomas slides a document forward. We've prepared a settlement agreement, full restoration of Michelle's funds, with 5% interest compounded annually. This is quite generous, considering we could pursue damages. Dad stares at the paper as if it might bite him. You would sue your own parents? I would protect what's mine, I answer, just like you taught me. The room falls silent except for the soft whir of the air conditioning. Rachel's phone pings with a notification, but she doesn't check it. Mom whispers something to Dad. He nods curtly, then reaches for the pen Thomas offers. His hand trembles slightly as he signs his name, the black ink a stark contrast against the white page. Mom signs next, her signature flowing and elegant, never once raising her eyes to meet mine. Rachel stands abruptly, chair scraping against hardwood. This is so typical. Perfect Michelle gets her way again. I've already told everyone about the house. That's not my problem, I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Family helps family, Mom says weakly. That's what we've always believed. This was never about the money. I take the signed agreement Thomas passes to me. It was about respect. Rachel storms out, the door closing with a heavy thud behind her. Mom follows after giving me one last disappointed look. Dad lingers, his authority diminished in the wake of legal consequences. I hope you're satisfied, he says finally. I study his face, the features I've always searched for in my own reflection. I'm not satisfied, Dad. I'm just finally standing up for myself. He leaves without another word. Thomas gathers his documents, tucking them neatly into his briefcase. The bank will process the transfer by tomorrow afternoon. Would you like me to have them prepare a cashier's check? Yes, I say, feeling lighter than I have in years. Thank you. The next day, I hold the check in my hands. $62,865.17. 10 years of my life quantified in dollars and cents. I drive to Westside Elementary where I've taught 3rd grade for 6 years. In the administrative office, I write a check for $5,000 to the school's scholarship fund. Principal Alvarez asks what prompted such generosity. An inheritance, I say. From myself. That afternoon, a realtor named Janet shows me through a small cottage on Maple Street. It's nothing like Rachel's luxury townhouse, just 2 bedrooms with worn hardwood floors and a kitchen that needs updating. But the backyard has an ancient oak tree, and sunshine streams through windows that face east. It's quiet, Janet says apologetically. Some people prefer more activity. I walk through empty rooms, my footsteps echoing against bare walls. In each space, I see possibilities unfolding: bookshelves filled with novels, a comfortable sofa for Sunday mornings, a dining table where friends will gather. For the first time, I imagine a future entirely of my own design. That evening, I call Aunt Meredith. When she answers, I can hear her television in the background, her favorite game show. I found my home, I tell her. Your home or a house? She asks, always precise with language. I smile into the phone. Both. The morning sun warms my back as I kneel in the freshly tilled soil, planting purple coneflowers along the stone path. 1 year has transformed this overgrown yard into something alive with possibility. Aunt Meredith works beside me, her gardening gloves caked with earth, her silver hair caught in the spring breeze. Your grandmother would approve, she says, patting the soil around a sturdy seedling. She always said gardens are where we plant our hopes. I smile, remembering the woman who taught me patience long before I understood its value. I think I finally understand what she meant. My cottage stands behind us, no longer the neglected foreclosure I purchased with my reclaimed savings. The pale yellow paint brightens the weathered siding, and window boxes burst with geraniums. It's modest, nothing like Rachel's luxury townhouse, but entirely mine. Inside, photographs line the mantel above the small fireplace. My 5th grade class performing their science play. Sarah and me hiking in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Aunt Meredith and I at the closing, holding up my house keys. No recent family portraits grace these walls, an absence that occasionally aches but no longer defines me. Hand me that watering can, would you? Aunt Meredith asks, interrupting my thoughts. As I pass it to her, movement at the garden gate catches my eye. My mother stands there, uncertainty written across her face. She clutches her purse with both hands, looking smaller somehow, diminished without my father beside her. Michelle, she says, using my childhood nickname for the first time since our confrontation. Your flowers are beautiful. Aunt Meredith glances between us, then tactfully murmurs something about checking on her strawberry tarts in the oven. She squeezes my shoulder as she passes, a silent reassurance. Thank you, I reply, rising slowly, brushing soil from my jeans. Would you like to come in? Mother hesitates at the threshold, as if crossing into my space requires permission she's unsure she deserves. I didn't bring anything. I should have brought something. It's all right. She takes 3 careful steps into the garden, then stops. I've been thinking about what happened. What we did. Her voice wavers. I didn't see what we were doing to you. Not really. I told myself we were just being practical. The admission hangs between us, inadequate, yet monumental. A year ago, I would have demanded more, a complete accounting of every inequity. Now, I recognize the courage this small acknowledgement requires. I'm glad you see it now, I say simply. She nods, blinking rapidly. Your father still doesn't understand. He says you abandoned the family. I didn't abandon anyone. I just stopped abandoning myself. A robin lands on the bird bath, splashing briefly before taking flight again. We both watch it go. Would you like some tea? I offer. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's an opening, a small crack in the wall between us. Later that evening, my small dining table holds a gathering unlike any my family ever hosted. Aunt Meredith passes a platter of roasted vegetables to Sarah, while Thomas Wilson, my silver-haired attorney, tells a story that has everyone laughing. My colleague Jack raises his glass in a spontaneous toast. To building our own definitions of family, he announces. As twilight deepens, I settle onto my porch swing with my journal. The evening breeze carries the scent of lilacs, as I write the simple truth that took 32 years to discover. The most valuable thing I've gained isn't this house. It's the knowledge that I matter too. I look up as the last light fades, watching fireflies begin their evening dance above my garden. For the first time in my life, I am perfectly at peace in my own space.